Hi everyone, it's Cristy with Aerybeth Sewing, and welcome to my little sewing studio here. Today we're going to be making these cute little MaryJane slippers. This is an older pair that I've had for a while, but this is the pattern. So this pattern is a much older one. It's a 2278. You can get it on Etsy or eBay and just look for that number. But it has MaryJane slippers as well as some other baby booties. But this is the only one for adults. And so that's what we're going to be making in my young ladies classes. And so you can make this if you flip on the back. Cotton blends, broadcloth. I think in the photo it's maybe cotton or even flannel. All you need is thread. And then let's see what else it says on here. Miss size shoe. Okay, here we go. You need some fabric, some lining, fusible fleece that makes it more poofy so it's softer, the Jiffy Grip, which is the non-slip bottom fabric, interfacing, hook and loop tape, which is like Velcro, and then some buttons. So here's mine. So it has the Velcro. Okay, I added a little bow here, and then here's the Jiffy Grip bottom. This one I made totally out of fleece, and then this other one that I'm working on is flannel on the outside, and the Jiffy Grip bottom is black, and then the inside is fleece. Okay, so that one I'm not finished with. So that's kind of what we're working on today. Alright, so when you get your pattern, you cut out the pattern, and then you determine the size. So on the back it will say small is around 9 1/4 inches, and medium 9 3/4. 10 is large is 10 1/2 inches. Now I would just take your foot and I'll actually put it on the pattern piece, and you can determine what your size will be. Alright, so here's a large, and it says on the large that you cut. You can see that. You may not be able to see it, but if you get the pattern, you'll be. It says cut 2 of the fabric. That is your outside. Okay, so that's the outside. You're going to cut 2 of the lining. That will be the inside fabric. You're going to cut 2 of fusible fleece and 2 of the Jiffy Grip. Okay, so that's a lot of pieces. You're going to cut out each one. So here is my Jiffy Grip. Here is my lining, and there it is. And here is my outside fuzzy fleece fabric. So, alright, so here's my Jiffy Grip fabric. Here is my lining fabric, which is the flannel, or it could be the outside fabric. And then here is my fleece that I'm going to do probably the outside for. Okay? Alright, that is the sole piece. You're going to cut 2 straps, and you're going to cut this curvy piece right here, 2 of the fabric for the outside and 2 for the lining, and 2 of interfacing. And if you have fleece, you don't really have to put interfacing on the fleece because it's already really thick. But if you want it to be more stable and structured, sure, put a little bit of fleece on the back side. And then your flannel, you can put interfacing on the back of that if you want to. I'm actually not going to put interfacing on the back of this. You can iron it on, cut out the same piece, iron it on the back. But mine is really going to be more thick because of the fleece, and I don't want it to be too stiff. I want it to be more soft. Now on the pattern, you actually have little circles here. That will be where your strap goes. Okay, so that's where the strap's going to go. And then here is the place where the Velcro will go on the outside of the shoe. That will be this part right here. That part right there. Okay, and then the other piece of Velcro goes on the actual strap. Okay, so we'll be sewing that on. The button is just for decoration. It's just cute. I just like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take out the pins. We're going to look at here's a Velcro. You cut it about a 1-inch piece. That will go right there. Alright, so you take out your instructions, and on the very front page, there's all this writing. Okay? It tells you for the misses size shoes that you will use piece 1, 2, and 3, and that's what we pulled out, and we went ahead and cut that out. And then if you're using fusible fleece for the sole to make it more softer, which you can use unless you're using fleece, you cut out a piece of the sole out of the fusible fleece. Okay, so we're going to ignore the rest of that because that's about the babies. Alright, so let's fold this in half. It says sewing directions. Choose A. Apply fusible interfacing to the wrong side of each top section. Now this is where you would use the interfacing to make it a little bit more structured. This helps it. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then it says stitch center back seam. This is on that curvy piece. So this piece right here. So we're going to take these all apart and we're going to put right sides together and we're going to stitch that back seam with those little notches. So it has a little notch, and when you cut it out, make sure you cut your triangle out. Alright, now the next part, number 2, is fold strap in half lengthwise with right sides together, stitch, leaving end with small and large dots open. So here is your piece, and it shows you where that Velcro is going to go, but there's some dots right here. Now that's going to go with this right here, this little piece right here, and when we get it all together, once we fold it, that's going to go right there. Okay, so we're going to take the pins out of that and fold it in half with right sides together. We're going to stitch the sides, and then we're going to turn it right side out. Now in the photo it shows you to stitch down a little short end and then down the other one. Now if you're using cotton, you can use a turning stick and turn that right side out. Sometimes with fleece it's a little bit harder to turn right side out like that, so you can actually leave both ends open and then fold in the sides when you're turning it right side out and then stitch it closed. And that's what I'm going to do today because it's a little bit easier, especially for beginners and children. Alright, so here is my strap. Okay. Okay, so let's get started on this. So here is my strap piece, which is actually number 2. I'm just going to put my pattern piece over there. And then you have to look at see what the right side is. Alright, that's the bumpy side. So I want this fuzzy side right here to be the right side. So I'm going to fold this in half. And this is where I'm going to want to stitch it, right down here. Alright, and here's the bumpy side, so that's the right side. Fold this in half this way. I'm just going to lay this to the side for a moment. Okay, here is my top piece. Now there's little triangles, the different spots on here. Right here's one, here's one, here's dots. Okay, so anytime you have a pattern, you mark your dots and you mark your triangles. So this is a double one, this is a single one. So I have a bigger triangle here and a smaller triangle here. So I'm going to put a pin through these dots, and then you're going to lift up those pattern pieces and mark where those pins are. Now I'm going to lift it up and mark on both sides. So, hold on, there's that one. Put this back down and mark the other side. I put the pins into the dots and then lift up and mark them. Alright, so those are marked. And you can do it the same way on the white as well. Mark it here. And that's where your strap's going to be. I marked it on both of those as well. Alright, so now I'm going to take this and put it to the side because I won't need it right now. Now you have to determine again your right side and the wrong side. Okay, so this goes away with the water, like when you wash, this disappears. This goes away with water, and this one goes away with heat. Alright, so again, my right side is this fuzzy side right here. I'm going to put right sides together. I'm going to put a pin, just pinning those together. Place kind of move, so there's that one. And this one, the dots, also double check. Your dots should be on opposite sides of each other when you open it up. And you have to put it back on the right side. You can put your pins back through it. And make those dots so you make sure you see those. Alright, so think about it. Your straps are always opposite. When you have it on, your straps going across your shoe, you don't want both straps going the same way. So you make sure they're opposite each other. So I have, let's see if I can show you. Here's the two. Okay, the two tops. So here's a strap. It can go across that way, and this one can go that way, or you can, again, like opposites. The straps are going to go from the inside of your foot to the outside, inside of your foot to the outside, or the other way. But they just need to be on opposite sides of each other. The same way for this and the same way for the lining. Okay? Alright, so here's that one. And then here's this one. Let me see if there's those. I need to mark those on the outside. I'm going to put a pin back through and mark those dots. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to put right sides together, matching up those notches, and put a pin. Okay, so I've got a couple things to sew right now. I've got this one, that one, that one, that one. That's all the top. And then I have my two straps to sew down the sides and then turn it right side out. Now I am on a stitch of a 1 and a length of a 3, and sometimes when you have fleece you could probably kick it up a notch, because I think the default on these are a 2.5 for length. So this is a straight stitch. You might over here, a stitch of a 1 is a straight stitch in the middle. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Stitch 1/4 of an inch seam. So this seam allowance is not like other clothing at 5/8. You're going to get close to the edge. Alright, so I'm going to get close to the edge on this. This is the strap. I'm just going to put my presser foot right on the edge. And if I want to get closer to the side, I'll just move my width and just move the needle a little bit closer. I want to have the ability for the feed dogs to really pull that in. So if I move my presser foot over, I won't be using all of my feed dogs. So I'm just going to, if I want to get closer, I just changed my width a little bit. Okay, and there's the other one. Now I'm going to sew the seam allowances on the back of our little rounded piece here, right on that edge. Alright, so let's look at what we're going to do next. So I'm going to take my straps here. Yeah, I've got a safety pin on here. And I'm going to put a safety pin here, close it up, and then tuck in the top. And I'm going to squish it onto my pin. Now there's different turning rods you can do, and if you're doing cotton, you can do it really easy with even a dowel. I'm going to pull that through. And there's that strap. Okay, I'm just going to lay that to the side. I'm going to do the other one. Now, with the instructions, they said to sew the side while you're sewing that, but fleece is a little bit harder, so you can actually tuck one of the ends in, and you could do a little whip stitch it closed, or you could just sew across of it. I actually have one of my thicker needles in my sewing machine, and if you wanted to do a heavy duty needle, you could do that as well. But if you sew the ends, it would be completely straight with the seam on the top. Okay, but if you wanted to, you could actually center that seam, so that would be on the back of that, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to stitch that closed, and you could do it with a needle and thread as well. I'm just going to stick it underneath my sewing machine real quick. Just take that and center that. I just like the way it looks, but you could do it either way. But now I never start at the very beginning because it's so thick. I start like about a 1/4 inch up, and then I back stitch, and then really thick because we're going through like 4 layers of fleece. So that one's done. I'm going to do the other one now. Okay, so those are ready to go. Now, I am going to... Alright, I'm going to get my little pieces of Velcro right here. And I'm going to get the scratchy end. Okay, and then my soft ends I'm going to lay to the side, but don't lose them. Now I'm going to go ahead and put those on the strap on the side with the seam, and I'm going to sew a square around that. Get it close to the edge, but you don't have to get it like super close. And you're just going to sew a square over that Velcro. Make sure you don't use the sticky Velcro. And sometimes your needle does not like it, and so you may have to just check it and make sure it's actually sewing on it. Alright, so that one's done. Alright, so here's our straps, and they're ready. So we're going to get our outside pieces. So I am going to do, I'm going to do the flannel on the outside. I think I've changed my mind, because you can do either one. I think the flannel will be good for the outside, and then we'll use the fleece for the soft inside. Okay, so I'm going to get my 2 pieces that are for the outside straps. You remember we have our little dots on the outside here, opposite sides. So we're going to put our strap right here on the side. It says, here's our Velcro. We put that on the outside. On the outside piece, Okay, there's our outside piece. Pin, strap, tape side up. Okay, matching the small dots. So here's our dots right here on the side, and we're going to put that right on that edge between those dots. Okay, all right, so I'm going to pin that right there, and I'm going to take the other one and pin it right there. Now we need to make sure that these are the same. So I put these back right sides together, matching up my little notches, and I lay this down to make sure the strap is in the same place. You can also make your strap out of the flannel as well, but I kind of like the contrasting. So I'm going to take this with my sewing machine, and I'm just going to stitch really close to this little edge right here to capture both of them. The top of it. So we'll go this way around. Alright, so we've gotten through the first page. Turn to the second page. Stitch center back seam of top lining, which we've done already. We did the center back on all of these. Now, with right sides together, we're going to pin the lining to the top, matching the centers and having raw edges even. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to take one of our pieces here, and we are going to do right sides together. So the right side is the side with the nice seam. That would be the wrong side. Here's our right side, okay, and here's our little dots, okay, our dots were where the strap was, and so we're going to put this down right sides together and pin this all the way around, matching up the seam first, the center back, and I just open up my seams. Now, if your notches don't match up, you can unpin and kind of readjust. You want to make sure your strap is completely straight. You want to make sure the back seam and the both match up. And if one of the top or bottom don't match up completely, you can go back and adjust the back seam. You can take it up just a little bit more to make those fit. And where we're going to sew, if you look at the picture in number 6 here, we're going to stitch around the whole top, okay, the inner side. Then we're going to clip the curve. So if you look in the picture, you'll see the little clips just around, but you don't clip your seam, then you'll have to go back and sew it. I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to start on the back right at that seam, or right before the seam really. Now this is a little bit different because you'll be sewing the inner and not the outer, so you want to make sure that you're on a stitch 1 and 3. Now that gives you, if you get close to the edge right here, That gives you about 1/4 of an inch in, and that's what it should be. If you go too far in, then you're not going to have enough fabric that goes up your heel to hold your shoe on. So stay around the 1/4. If you get too close, you can always go back, but you don't want to get too far away from that side. Don't forget to back stitch to get started. Alright, once you're done with the first one, then go ahead and set up your second one. As you go past your strap, make sure you keep your strap straight, and the line where we sew the strap on goes a little bit to the inside. You've gone all the way around it, then take your scissors, make sure you get off any threads, double check both sides to make sure you've gotten both fabrics. If there's a little bit of extra bulk right here where the strap is, you can kind of trim that off. But now we're going to clip our curves. It will not lay right if you don't pull that, when you pull that around, if you don't clip your curves. So we're going to take it and we're just going to clip little scissors. They're easier to do. Make sure you do not clip your seam, or you will have to go back and fix it. I go around that curve there. Okay. Now the back is just a straight line. All the rest is kind of straight lines. It's just around that. So see, when you pull it, it opens up that better. Okay. So now I'm going to flip this to the inside. Let's see. Alright, so once you've clipped it, okay, then it says turn lining to inside, turning straps out and press. Okay, we can press it. I'm not going to press it because I've got fleece and it doesn't really press well. You can do that if you have 100% cotton or flannel on both sides. Okay, machine stitch outer edge of top along seam line. So on, if you want to get this back and look at it, you can see at the bottom of this pattern piece, it's got this little line. So that's how far they want you to go in. Okay, so here's that stitch line. Okay, so at the bottom of this, all the way around, we're going to stitch that so those will be together. Alright, so the first thing is to turn both of your pieces out. Okay, so I'm going to flip that lining. We're going to take that first piece, kind of open it up. Okay, and then we're going to tuck all that white in. And it's a little fiddlesome, and you can put a pin at the top temporarily, because we're going to pin it at the bottom too, because it needs to stay even at the top. So I'm just going to pin at the top, because this is where you would be pressing it as well. Again, very fiddlesome. Now look at this. So it's not ready yet, but it's starting to look more like a shoe top. Alright, so now I'm going to go around the bottom. See, the notches are together. Alright, now both tops are together and pinned. And now we're going to sew around the bottom edge. Now, where this notch is right now, so it will match up with the notch on our sole. Okay, so we're just going to sew around. Now this is where you need to get close to the edge and make sure you're about 1/4 of an inch of the way. So I'm using my presser foot as the guide on the side of this and just getting it right on there with nothing peeking out. Go down, back. Now if you want to get closer to the edge, you can always increase, let me show you, right here. this bottom number, this 3.5, you can change that number, and I'm going to go up and down so you can see. So you can see that needle move. See, it's getting closer to the side. It's getting closer to the side. So that is actually on a 5.5. So that brought it closer to the right hand side over here. So you can adjust that. All right. I went frontward, backwards. I'm going to go around it now. Alright, so let's see. Alright, and we've checked and it's all sewn right. Alright, on the outside, pin and stitch the loop, the half a tape along the solid lines. Okay, so what you have is the soft Velcro part. So you can use this, so you can put this down on the shoe and you can find where that little square is and you can mark it. Or I do it this, so I fold this back at this seam line, okay, and get it all flat, okay. I'm going to flip it over and I want this to be right across from that. Make sure you put the hook and loop tape the way this is going, so this is more of a rectangle that way, so that's more of a rectangle that way. Now I don't want it too close to the top, okay, but I also don't want it too close to the bottom because I will be sewing a little bit further in than that stitch we made. So I'll kind of just center it just a little bit, realize that I'm going to come back up just a little bit more, okay. I'm going to take this and pin this on. You can hold it on too, but that's where I want it. It's right across from my strap. I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. That all flat, and that's where I want it, right there. And if you see more threads, you can just cut those off. That's where I want that. And then again, I'm going to sew just a little rectangle. You know, once you pin it on, double check it. I'm just going to sew around, put my needle down so it holds it in place for me, and then sew around it. And always back stitch at the beginning and end. Kind of test out your little strap there. Isn't that cute? Alright, so the next part, we're going to take our pattern with the Jiffy Grip. That was the last one I cut out. Okay, so it was still attached. Alright. And you have to make sure that there's the one foot and there's another. Okay, that way. Alright, so I'm going to do, I want this one to be on the outside of my foot. So that will be on the outside. So that will be the right foot and this will be the left. And if you want to, you could do right and left and make little marks on your shoes. Alright, so we're going to do this a little bit backwards. We're going to take this, we're going to strap there, and you want to do right sides together. Okay, So here is, let's just double check and make sure if I've got it on the right one. You can see the way the pattern was cut. Alright, that is not the right one. I'm going to make sure. There it is. You see this pattern? You see the one little notch here, the two notch here is in that order. Alright, so that would be that one. Now here's this one. Here's this one. This is the big notch. This is the smaller notch. So if I put like this, okay, big notch, okay, so again, big notch on the right, smaller notch on the right. Same thing for this one. Big notch, smaller notch. So make sure you have the right one with the right foot. Double check. So there's that. So I'm going to pin this all the way around, so when I turn it right side out, that will be on the bottom and that will be on the outside. Okay, so I'm going to match up my notches. Now it's kind of weird because you're bringing it in. Just take your time. I'm going to do the middle of that first, so I'm matching that one up. And if some of the fabric's sticking out a little bit, it is okay. You're just going to do the best you can. And remember, your notches don't have to stick out together. They just kind of stick out a little bit, so you know that you're going in the right direction. And once you get past the kind of toe area, it's not so bad. So I'm doing the toe area, and I'm going to flip back over here. See? Now it should be easier on the sides. Now when you get back to the back, remember the heel is kind of like the toe again. You're kind of going to push it in, kind of concave. Is that right word? Is that the right word? Okay. And if you get back here and it's really overlapping, just pull it out just a little bit. Again, we're human. We don't cut things like perfect. So don't stress. And then you can fit that in there. You just don't want it. If it overlaps a little bit, it's not a big deal. We're going to have a little insole in a minute. See that? And you can put it flat. Now it matches up. Okay, I'm going to do the other one. I'm going to go back to a straight stitch of a 1 and a length of a 3 and a 3.5 width. And I'm going to sew a little bit to the left of the straight line that we used to sew our lining piece to our outside piece. Then I'm going to needle down and back stitch. Just be very careful. You don't have to go fast. so now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim this off a little bit, get the edges even. We're going to go ahead and finish the edges so they won't ravel and they won't get all ugly. So I'm going to turn my stitch to, I'm going to turn my stitch to a 4, and I'm going to go up to a 4.5 and a 1.8 to make my zigzag stitch. And I'm going to stitch one on the fabric. I may turn it up to a 5. That's off the fabric and that's on the fabric. I just don't want to go past my straight stitch. Just on the little edge, all the way around, and it finishes the edges and makes it look so nice. If you go past your straight stitch, it'll show on the outside. So let's just zigzag all the way around both. Alright, now we have zigzagged around the edge, and it just makes it look a little bit neater on the inside. It just makes it look finished. Alright, so we can actually take these and flip these right side out. We can take a look at our little slippers. They're almost done. Poke out your toes. Look at these cute little things. The ones I'm making are medium. Look at those. Aren't those cute? Alright, so we need just a couple more things. We need the insole. Okay? Alright. So, let's take our other 2 pieces. This is where you could put fusible fleece on here, but we're actually using fleece. And so I don't have to do that, but if you want it even more padded, you could use fusible fleece on the back of the flannel. Okay, so it says, alright, turn right side out, turn seam towards sole, and press. You can press it if you want to, you don't have to on that one unless you're using total cotton, and then you would want to. Apply fusible fleece to wrong side of each sole. So you could put fusible fleece on both of those, but we're using fleece, so I would probably put it on this. You cut it the same size and you iron it on, and if you're afraid your iron is going to stick, use another piece of cotton to iron over the top of it. It says with the right sides together, stitch lining to sole, matching centers, and having raw edges even. Okay, so here we're going to use that little picture as a guide. Stitch all the way around it, leave an opening for turning, and clip curves. Alright, so here's our little piece. Okay, so we're going to stitch all the way around it, and there's the center back. Okay, and we're just going to leave an opening. They leave the sole open, it looks like in this photo, but I'm going to leave this area on the side. To me, that's easier when you top stitch it back closed or stitch it with the hand. It just looks better. It's harder to make a curve. Okay, let's flip this up and see what number 11 is. Okay. Alright, so we're going to leave an opening in the side, and then we're going to clip the curves, and then we're going to turn right side out and press, turn under, turn the opening edges, and slip stitch. So they're saying stitch it with your a needle and thread, and then it goes into your shoe. I've done this before, and sometimes the insole comes out, so if you want to slip stitch around the inside, it helps it stay into place, and we may do that. And then on the outside, you could put a little button on the strap at the very end if you want to, for decoration. Alright, so let's put these all together. Okay. So we're going to match up the notches, the big notch and the small notch, and you can test that out to make sure. See, there's a small notch right here, big notch right here. You can tell by the outline of it. Small notch, big notch, matching those up. I got the heel a little bit bigger on that one, so I'll trim that up in a minute. So we're going to put pins in this. You can pin around like that, or you could also pin it around like with the pin sticking out from the edge. Whatever works for you. I would definitely pin this a good bit like this because you don't want it to move on you. And you also don't want to sew too far away from the side. Again, they're wanting 1/4 of the inch, so it's kind of floppy. So if you wanted to put fusible fleece, it makes it a little bit more stiff. Interfacing, you could put on one and fusible fleece on the other, or you could do interfacing on both or fusible fleece. You see what? Go to the store and feel the fusible fleece. You can get it in a package or a bolt, either one of those, but you can feel of it on the bolt and see which one you like. And once you make one, you'll figure out if you want this a little bit more stiff and not to come out. Alright, so I'm going to put this down on my sewing machine. I'm going to go back to a stitch 1, which is my straight stitch in the center, and I'm going to do a stitch length of a 3, and I'm going to put my pressure fit right on the edge of my fabric. And you can cut off your notches now. And you're going to clip your curves. Alright, once you get finished clipping your curves, you reach in, you pull everything out. You can reach in, you can use a little stuffing stick, I call it a little pokey stick from the, if you ever have any polyfill. And then we're going to tuck that little side in. And this is where you can iron it if you want to. And here's your insole. Let's do the other one. You can get a needle and thread and sew it up. Tuck those little edges in, and I'm just going to do a little ladder stitch where I'm going to get a little from one side and a little from the other and pull it straight. You can do a whip stitch too if you want to, which would be kind of around each one going back on the same side. So you go on this side and go around, and this side and go around. So you could do that as well. This one's just going to be, so I'm going to go one side and then another, like you would a ladder going across. Go across each one. You can, this is good practice. Tying it off, I'm just going to go through it and then back through the loop and pull it tight. one little insole. Make sure it's all pulled out. And I'm going to open up my shoe. And you're just going to work it in there. Now, this is the cool part. You can put it on either side. So if you're going to do this side, the white side, you can put it on this shoe. And just tuck it in. Now, if you don't want your insole to come out at all, then you can actually turn it wrong side out, and you can do a little whip stitch around the inside of your shoe, and then it will stay in. But that is the little insole. Isn't that cute? All right, let me do the other. You can throw them in the wash, take them back out, wear them again, and they have non-slip bottoms so you won't fall. If you want the slippy kind, some of my girls said they want to slip and slide down the hallway, you can always just put fleece on the bottom instead of the Jiffy Grip. But enjoy it. This is a good old pattern if you can find it on the internet. It was fun to make a long time ago, and it's fun to make now. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.